recording now?
I think we're waiting.
Okay, we're good.
I don't know who we're waiting.
We're back.
Oh, we're recording now.
Yeah, I'm recording now.
Hello.
Let's get into it.
We're back. Let's get into this. Let's get in this argument.
What argument? Like I don't know anything about argue about yet.
Anytime I see the movie, I start getting angry. I don't know. I flip.
That's fair.
All right.
That is very accurate.
What's in the agenda for
welcome everyone.
Welcome.
So I had a couple things. I guess the first thing, we are now post the PS5 Xbox Series X/S release. And I know I got a couple people who got theirs or tried to get one and didn't get one. So Gus, I know you got yours. You had on lockdown day of it came.
Yeah. Yes.
Buzz, I think you have one.
I
think you have two.
I got both, actually, yeah.
Oh, you got both. Ooh.
Like a crazy person.
Oh, that's awesome.
Man.
I ended up writing a bot program to basically troll the sites all over and over again until I got one in my shopping cart, and then that's how I actually ended up getting both.
Nice. Nice.
And Will, yours is coming. Yours is physically in the mail.
No, so mine is here now.
Okay.
It got here. I will tell you, I stayed up until 2 a.m. after our last episode, like waiting and refreshing Target. Unfortunately, unlike Buzz, I did not have a bot. I thought my fingers were fast enough. I was a fool. I literally watched it in my cart. I got to the part where you got to payment, and I kept clicking the finish. Not so much because it was already gone. I had that happen again with Walmart twice. My last saving grace was Costco, where it just having that membership was enough of a barrier to buy me the time to get it.
Nice.
But yeah, it just got here yesterday.
Now, did you get a bundle?
Yes.
What did it come?
I got so it was the PS5, an extra controller, Miles Morales Spider-Man, and 30 days of PlayStation Now, which is sitting on my stand. The thing I cared the least about, whatever. I just wanted the system, and it is really large. I knew people said that, and I know oh, it's a big system. It's a really big system. It dominates your eye in a way that I was not expecting at all. In my little stand.
I didn't expect it to be so loud either. It feels like it actually does that PS4 whirring kind of thing where it gets a little bit of heat behind it. Compared to the Xbox Series X though, which is the other one I've got going, and I haven't used it as much. That thing is stone quiet. I don't ever hear it kick off.
Well, I'm surprised about the heating in the PS5 because from my understanding of the breakdown design, most of the size of that is heat, the heat sink.
Yeah.
It's got a gigantic heat sink inside. But yeah, I've heard it work, but it hasn't gone as long as the PS4 will. The PS4 was just in the danger zone. I felt Tom Cruise was in the room and he was just
What, Tom Cruise climbing the tower in Dubai?
It's about as large as the tower in Dubai. Geez. What was it? So how's I can speak about the PS5, but how's the Xbox Series X? How?
It's good. The only game I've really explored with it is Yakuza, the new, it says Yakuza 7, but they've retiled it for the US as Like a Dragon, which is already the subtitle in Japan anyway for all the games. It's good. Really fast load times, comparable to the PS5 in a lot of ways too, but none of the games really feel optimized in the way the games like Miles or Demon Souls does for the PS5, where you're actually okay, this feels very next generation.
Yeah. I haven't had to play anything that's real. I downloaded Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, and Borderlands 3. And I definitely saw the visual upgrade. It was night, whoa, that's what that game's supposed to look like. Oh, thanks. And the load time where I used to watch Claptrap dance around the screen for a good 2 minutes before the game started. He did one dance and that was it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because there are no load screens or times in a lot of the games anymore, are there?
Yeah, they're trying to phase
No.
them out.
Well, in Miles, there's an option actually if you go into the settings I found where you can actually put the load screen back in if you want to see him riding the subway for those little cutscenes. So we've gotten to the point where it's like, oh, if you want loading screens, we'll give them to you, but you don't have to have them.
I mean, it was, the Avengers, the Marvel Avengers definitely has like load screens and stuff. So
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how that would work in one of these, but that would I'd have to get Marvel's Avengers, and yeah, like I may get that from the library at some point because I'm not going to another Destiny alike. I got burned on that once. I will not get burned again. Man. So what was the other thing about this? Like, are there any? So Buzz, you said you play. It sounded like you played Demon Souls and Miles.
So actually, I platinumed 4 games this week. I did the Astrobot Playroom, Bug Snacks, Miles, and Demon Souls. So I've kind of had like a week of just like I've been glued to my TV screen.
It's pretty awesome.
I'll say, how else? What?
Yeah.
The Demon Souls one was a little like I feel like I did literally lose my soul in the process. That one was.
Oh, man.
I had to like recruit friends
So
to
have
help
you
me. It
played
was
Demon's Souls?
the Demon Souls. You know, the Demon Souls game's good though. It's one of those ones really visually impressive, but by like my third playthrough, I was kind of like, this really still does feel like a 2000 mid 2000s game where I'm just like, it's not quite up to snuff. Like it's not like a Bloodborne or like a Dark Souls 3 in my opinion.
It's interesting
Wow.
to see the conversation around Demon Souls right now because of all the games, like I think people are just good or bad, whatever. Like Demon Souls seems to have brought out a lot of conversation regarding like the artistic choices they made and how like in an attempt to make things technically look better, they've taken away from the soul of the game, like the kind of feelings they were trying to emote, like trying to invoke versus just a really nice looking game. Did you play the original Demon Souls at all?
Oh, for sure. I definitely through it a couple of times, like way back. I was late coming to it, so I never had like the network features because I kind of got into that whole series like post mortem.
Okay.
So it was weird to play it. Like my friend and I kept playing it, and we were invaded like maybe every 3 minutes as we were playing online. And it was just one of those things where I'm like, whoa! I've never actually had to like fend off so much PvP in a Souls game.
Jeez. Yeah, like I I only have a limited experience. Like I played through Bloodborne, I played through Sekiro. I've not played any of like the Souls proper.
The Demon
yeah,
Soul, how's the difficulty on that one?
It's up there. Oh man, because this is the one like before even like the Dark Souls where you kind of had more of like a nuance going on, so you could have like different builds. Like this one's truly you have to kind of play it the way they want you to play it, kind of like Sekiro was, where like you needed to learn a skill set to get through it, and then if you have to, there are some cheese strategies. Like I always kept a poison spell because then I could just kind of hide in a corner and poison a boss over and over again and just keep moving. Like that's kind of the way to go. Because by New Game Plus, I was just like one-shotting pretty much everything, and so I just had to kind of like put the brakes on and just get like into that kind of rhythm of being like, okay, everything's going to kill me in one hit, so now I have to be extremely careful, but I want that platinum trophy.
Man, I'm motivated now. I got a platinum at least once.
Right?
From what I understand, there's no such thing as cheese in a Souls game. Like they're never playing fair. So like you do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's that's totally right. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? I'm going to use the thief's ring to be invisible. I'm going to poison them, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And if I get through that way, that's good enough for me.
Like, it's funny you talk about the conversation around Dark Souls. I just listened to probably 3 hours worth of podcast about people going on and on about how much they're enjoying playing this game or coming back to this game. I didn't realize, and I knew the platinuming, you play New Game Plus, but how in the... 4 platinums? Like, where did you find this time? And also, man alive, you were saying earlier that you're like point.
Sarah, you're
Uh-oh.
kind of cutting out a little bit.
Up, I did,
Yeah,
everybody
you
else
had
is-
to,
yeah, I did hear 4 platinum. You know where you were going.
I think she was saying that right now the platinum for Demon Souls, because we were talking about this earlier today, is like a 0.8% like achievable rating. So basically Sarah's kind of trying to do an underhanded dig at me because she knows I've been playing way too many games this week.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm motivated.
Yeah.
I can't even say anything though. Like I was playing Astro's Playroom just before we got on.
Mhm.
And there was a point where I was just kind of jamming with it and I forgot it was Wednesday. Like I was in Thursday, I was in Thanksgiving, like I was doing my thing. I'm like, oh man, look at that. There's another piece of PlayStation nostalgia. Like just when I thought they couldn't fit in anymore, like the only thing I'm waiting for now, the one thing I need to see, because I've saved the PlayStation 2 land for last. I need a red E somewhere in that level. I need a gigantic red E and them to tell me it's not. Like, nah. Because I
They
love
would pull
that
the rug
ad
out from
campaign.
under you.
I love that ad campaign so much. Like I was,
That tech demo was oddly impressive. Like it feels more like than like just your regular kind of like we're just showing off a controller. Like I was really enthused by that.
well, the interesting thing is like what I understand, the game that's a pseudo sequel to Astrobot for the PlayStation VR was supposed to be just a genuinely good virtual reality game, like a top tier game that happened to be on like PlayStation VR. And I think it's the same team that worked on it. So like they seem to have like a nice touch for that sort of platforming. And like I don't know if the other game crammed in as much like, oh, PlayStation, isn't it great? But like
Now, Astrobot Rescue, I had it on the VR when it came out, and I think it was the only VR game I played besides that Trover Saves the Universe, the one that Justin Roiland did, like kind of as a space alien Rick and Morty spinoff kind of thing. That one was definitely toned down. I was so much more impressed with this one, and I almost didn't play it because I was like, this is probably just more of that, but this was like huge ups. I couldn't believe it, and the controller too, to really show off that like 3D vibrational stuff, like when he's walking on the sand and you kind of feel like a grittier feeling on your hands when you're doing it. That was amazing.
I like the climbing as the monkey.
Yes, yeah.
And then there were certain handholds that like would crumble if you grab them too hard. So you had to do a slight grab and then like alternate in that way, and you had to move the controller. Like my girlfriend's in next to me, she's like, "What are you doing?" Like I'm like, "This is the way I gotta climb. This is what the game is asking of me."
Yeah, I know. When I first played the beginning, I don't know, was it just like the demo of the controller? That kind of blew me away when I first pressed the triggers and they actually, had that tension or whatever, that resistance, and then it clicked. I'm like, oh, okay, they're really, they stepped it up this time around. But I'm loving it, man. That controller impressed me better than I expected at this point. I know, Buzz, you said you got the Xbox Series X. Now the controller, can you compare both? I mean, I know it's probably kind of like an Elite controller, right?
Yeah, so it really is just last generation's controller with a little bit smoother of an interface going on here. You still have a really nice 8-directional D-pad with like true clicking in each mode. And then you've got, just the standard thing. The triggers do feel really nice on the back end of it. Like they give you like, it's kind of that thing. They're not haptic like the PS5, but it really kind of is just the old controller again. It's a little bit smoother. I've noticed the kind of the feedback's a little bit nicer. Like feels like they've toned it up a bit to match kind of basically the more one-to-oneness of the games. Like I was playing Gears 5, or I think it was Gears 5 with this. And I was noticing that there was a little bit more like kind of response timing felt a little bit better. Like when I was trying to aim and stuff, like they've kind of optimized it. But it really is kind of the old controller. I think the PS5, if we're talking like a console like comparison thing, it really stepped it up this time.
So with regards to like the Series X interface. Like, I know, like, for the most part, it wasn't, the PS5 is not super dissimilar to the PS4. Like, there's a little bit of a curve in some places, but like, from what I understand, like, the Series X is essentially just kind of like directly, just kind of like you're moving slightly from Xbox One to, like, it just ports. Oh, you want to? This is your account. We'll port everything over, and you're good to go.
Exactly. It's literally, I didn't miss a beat between the interfaces, and I didn't even have much experience with the old one. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm seeing the same thing here. You have to have a Microsoft account to even get it set up. They actually want you to download an app on your phone and then link your account back to get it set up. So you would have to have a smartphone to set up your Xbox, or you would have to use a landline to call them to set up your Xbox now. So it actually was a real
Good thing I have a
to get
smartphone.
it going. What?
I said, good thing we all have smartphones.
Exactly. Well, I was kind of thinking, I was like, what if I didn't happen to have, like, I mean, who doesn't? But kind of like, it was just such a huge pain in the butt to get it set up. But yeah, you're right. The interface is very much just the same. One cool thing though about the PS5 I learned today is I popped in Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, in the drive for the PS4.
Mhm.
Every single PS4 game that's backwards compatible has its own theme that will load in the background of your PS5. So I saw brand new artwork for Final Fantasy 12 of like Fran holding a bow, like rendered in like the art style with like watercolors when I loaded the game in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that for when I put in the Handsome Jack collection for Borderlands. But I've got a couple of PS4 games I want to put in. Like, the one weird thing I heard with that's like, if you play Last Guardian off the disc, then you can get 60 frames a second versus using the digital copy of the game, which is hard locked at a frame rate of like 30 or something like that. But yeah, it's so weird because there doesn't seem to be, like, everything's compatible, but it seems like everything with the Sony is an adventure to see what's going to happen when you put in like like something from the previous gen. Like, I heard about which Assassin's Creed is it? Not the one between Unity and Origins. Who I always Syndicate
Syndicate.
has the weird shadowing issue.
Speaking of,
Now, is there anything? Oh, you were saying something, Sarah?
I was gonna say, speaking of Assassin's Creed, did anybody get Valhalla? I did not.
I
Not
did
yet.
not.
I did. I
kind of
just
waiting for the Ubi stuff to calm down, but
It looks amazing.
yeah.
Dimitri, let me get your 2 cents. Let's hear it.
I haven't touched it. I bought it. I just haven't touched it. My friends have played it, and they think it's a little overhyped.
What? Dimitri, get
You're overhyped. Should I mute him? Should I mute him?
Why-
Don't do it.
This is crazy. But no, while a lot of people don't like these new Assassin's Creed games, I've been messing with them. So I'm still gonna give this one a go. The trailers look awesome, but then again, all Assassin's Creed trailers look good. So
They kind of do.
I don't know. I hope it's good.
So you have it, but you're just looking at it from a distance.
Yeah, I just haven't touched it.
You're staring at it like the box in your own.
I'm busy.
Okay, all right. That's cool.
wow.
I know Will is not a big fan of these new ones. I remember.
I never thought I would be old man Assassin's Creed player, but I have a belief that when I have a hidden blade and I sneak up on you and run, and then I have to run, I have to do what I have to do, that is my business. If I sneak up to you and I've got the hidden blade and I go like that and it tells me, sorry, you're not high enough level, he doesn't care, and turns around and smacks me with his like +6 scimitar of doom, I feel like I'm playing a different game. And that game not necessarily bad, just I'm not sure if it's Assassin's Creed.
I heard
That I know.
I heard a lot of people have that, and I've read a bunch of articles from different sources that people are not going to be surprised if there is a download that fixes that.
I mean,
Probably should be.
Now, here's a question now. If I get the Valhalla for the PS4, do they do this? One I haven't really looked into it that much, but if I get the PS4 version, can I upgrade or whatever to the PS5 for the same like? Because I know with like Series X, right? They do something like you get the next generation version if you get a Series X or something like that.
I mean, this has been a really hard thing to follow because every game's doing it differently. So, for example, Yakuza had both an Xbox previous generations release and a Series X release. They have a PS4 release and they're coming out with a PS5 release, but you can't upgrade between them. Same thing for like Contact, I think was the other one that they had like famously said, like, we know we're close to the release, but we're not going to let you upgrade. But Cyberpunk, which comes out in like 2 weeks, will let you upgrade if you do have the later console. They're not going to do separate
Cyberpunk,
previews
which
for the
keeps getting
discs.
delayed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. Like I ran into a Borderlands 5, so they provided a free upgrade. If you had the version, you had either the digital or physical for the 4, you get the 5. When I put in my disc, it was like, okay, cool, you can get the 5 version. It then proceeded to download the 4 and the 5. And like it did it in such a way, like because the game has, so there's the game and then there's the extra stuff DLC you can download from season 1. And it downloaded both versions for both in an order I could not understand. So it was like it would take the 5 of the game, then the 4 of one game, then the 4 of another part of the game, then come back to the 5. And I finally had to wait for it to download everything. And like, all right, now you're done. All right, cool. Now I'm going to delete the 4 because I don't need the 4. I've got the 5. Because had I left it there, like it would give me the option to play either one. And I'm like, why would you think I'd play the 4 if you gave me a 5? Like, oh man. So yeah, I mean, they are like, I'm jealous, admittedly, of just like how straightforward it is with Microsoft. They're just like, oh, you got the game? All right, cool, we'll upgrade and we're done. Like I wish, that Sony could have thrown some Microsoft money behind that, but I know they can't. So
Yeah.
I've got what I got.
I think this will all kind of pan out a little bit too as we get further into the next generation and things kind of ease off. It'll just be like, okay, we're just developing for one platform. I mean, there's still stuff slated for the PS4 until the middle of next summer, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't imagine until at least the earliest, like the holidays of next year, would be the earliest we'd start to see just like PS5, Xbox Series X exclusive development. Now, I'm wondering, like Microsoft may have kind of put themselves in a weird place because the X and the S have slightly different tech stats, right? Like, so at least with the 5, whether or not you got a digital or physical, you've got a PlayStation 5. At a certain point, like when we start to really start pushing what the systems can do, and we're not nowhere near there yet, like, are we going to be like, yeah, you got this game? I don't know if you can play it on the X. You may want to get yourself an S, Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there.
I think it's weird because I don't think Microsoft will ever leave the mindset of like, this is your computer, but just for games kind of a thing, which is like the whole X versus S thing. Like, your S is just maybe not great as a gaming console as your X, just like you maybe not have great as a computer as somebody else is playing it. Whereas Sony's much more still in the mark making a console where it's like, yeah, this is your console. This is just for video games. This is what we do. I think there's still kind of that dichotomy there that needs to go away.
So to try to turn this a little bit so more people who didn't buy next gen systems can get involved. So we're in the 9th now. We're in the 9th generation. So I figured let's take some time. Let's talk about the 8th generation. Like it's now that we can say we're pretty close to not the end. Like what were some highlights for people from like the PS4, Xbox One era games that you were like, oh man, that was a really great experience I had?
Let me just
Well-
say,
Oof.
yeah, Michelle is still in the, I believe, the 5th generation. Am I correct?
I think so.
Michelle, I bequeath my PS3 too.
Yes, I have a PS3 now. So I had a PS2. And before that, I had a PS1. So, and I have an S. So I have old stuff that's old. So I have nothing new. Just a PS3. That's my new system.
PS and the eventual hopes of the Kingdom Hearts 3 that's on the PS4.
But I heard it's not good. Why do I want to play it? I can just
Well-
play 2. I can play 2 again and 1 and play 1 correctly.
Okay.
Oh my god. I think the greatest thing that the PS4 really gave me were bow mechanics in my games. You know, as a big Tomb Raider fan, as a big Last of Us fan, the bow mechanics are the thing that I was a big Horizon Zero Dawn fan. It's all about the bow. It's not possible without the PS4.
Trying to think. I think maybe the best thing that I got out of the Xbox One was probably all like the was sure maybe it's like I think probably one of my favorite games I got for the Xbox One that I actually probably haven't played in a while that I might want to play is Batman Arkham Knight, and just I think I've liked all the stuff that's come out of Call of Duty and like the WWE and and I think that's just I think the games are getting better.
Okay.
I'd say the
Right.
late game stuff too, especially for like the last gen was great. Dragon Quest 11 was, I think, one of the best games I've ever played in recent memory. I actually really did like Kingdom Hearts 3 once it was all done. It's the kind of game where the plot's still just garbage, but it's like those luxury animations. Like you don't see this level of like Pixar kind of like detail in just everything you play. So I thought that was really fun to kind of like bounce around it. At this point, it's one of those things where I've been playing the games for so long. I was like, I'll take any conclusion to the trilogy. Just let me know what happens.
I know I really like if I had to pick like mechanically, the ability for like instant screenshots and video saving, like oh
Yeah,
man, there's
yeah,
nothing I will still like some tough boss battles. I'll sit back and just get like a couple of snacks and just watch. Like I think in Control where I fought the anchor, they just spit out clocks at me. Yeah, I'll watch that fight again. Like down to like one life, and I just threw a clock and hope for the best. That I got to start this battle over, and I want like yeah, it's good stuff, and just the ability to have these just like random screenshots everywhere. Like in Spider-Man, I know I was just like oh click click click, like that was a very like photorific game. Like I think like the first gen, like near the end, like God of War, Spider-Man, like I thought they really did a good job of showing like the maximum you could accomplish on the PS4, and it makes me sad that I know it's going to take them a little while, I think, to get there with the PS5. But to know, like, when I get to that point, like, there's just going to be some amazing experiences. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
2018 Spider-Man was really kind of an amazing game when you think about it. That was last gen. It still felt so like the movement mechanics in that game were just amazing. And then you get these still screens and you could see all these little elements of his suit all the time. It was such an impressive game.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Insomniac,
yeah.
one of my favorite studios for like, I think I've played almost every Ratchet and Clank. I didn't play Resistance because I like, guys, you don't want to be doing that. Don't stop. Like, that's not far. And they really, I think, with the exception of Sunset Overdrive, which is the only game of theirs I haven't played. I want to because that was Xbox One exclusive. I think they have done as good a job as like Sony itself of taking it of their software, like of being able to maximize it in ways. Because I have never seen an ugly Insomnia game. Never. Like whether you think it's good or bad, it's gonna look good, if nothing else.
Yeah, they definitely. I'd say last year they definitely got it right. Definitely, like Xbox One games got it right visually. For me.
So the next thing I was going to ask, like, what would you like to see carried over from the previous generation into this generation? What do you want to see? Like, what are things that you see they did well enough that you want to see more of?
I'm going to give you a prediction right now. Hot prediction. They're going to remake all the Resident Evil games again and put it on PS5 and Xbox One. We're going to go from 0 to 8. They're just going to re-release them again. I don't know what they're going to do, but it seems like every generation they come out. So, but this time around, at least, I don't know. I don't want to speak just for Sony, but if specifically Sony, like with the controller, make sure for them is, I mean, I know where their first party stuff is gonna showcase that controller. I think especially God of War, and like maybe like Gran Turismo or something like that. But that's what I want to see more of. Xbox, I know we were talking about this last time. For the love of God, get some more exclusives. You can't just do Halo, guys. we need a couple more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I'm a huge Microsoft fan.
Yes.
Too. And I love Xbox, and I definitely am on the market for it. So you got to teach me how to do that bot or whatever you did, so I can find my system. I'd probably go.
With Call of Duty and
Yeah.
I mean, I'd making like big things Call of Duty and Xbox exclusive. If you're gonna if you're gonna play it on an Xbox, make it an Xbox exclusive.
I mean, they definitely need more exclusives. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think the thing. Oh, sorry. I think the thing I'm looking forward to, though, if I wanted to like look down the road for both of these, would be some kind of maybe middle ground of like frame rate versus like cinematic modes. I noticed in both Miles and in Demon Souls, there were two modes there, right, that you could get into in your visual settings. So you had one that was either 60 frames per second, looked very, very crisp. It was catching up. It felt very fluid. And then you had more of like a cinematic one where you had ray tracing, great texture depth. You had a greater field of vision, and you had better physics in terms of things like cloth or things that are non-object model oriented. So you look at that and you see the two. The problem is in a game like Demon Souls, the cinematic mode looks really great for screenshot capture, but you can't play it in that way. It's too stodgy. So I'm looking for some kind of middle ground there as they kind of figure out the hardware a bit more, where we've got really decent frame rate and great cinematic ray trace. If you can get both those in one package, that'd be it.
My question is, though, for the ray tracing, like, how much do we need? Like, at what point do we think that they've reached a point where they don't necessarily need to fine-tune that to the extent that we think it's a real-life cinematic experience?
I mean, it's
Like,
it's visually noticeable when you look at stuff. Like, I think Gran Turismo, that whole series, or like the Need for Speed, any of those racing games are usually really good benchmarks for it, because you're seeing things at kind of a higher pitch, and then you can kind of do it. So you can tell the difference when you look at like the car models. But the thing is like, it's so hard on the engine though to run that and the frames per second. And I think I would still take the FPS over the ray tracing, just because it's in motion.
At what point is it just nice, and at one point does it like stop enhancing the gameplay?
I don't know. I just give me both, right? I want the best of both worlds. Like, it's a Miley Cyrus thing.
I think we can do it.
Cyrus.
I think it's definitely doable. I think it's doable.
Yeah, I think as they get to know the hardware, I think we'll get closer to it. It's just definitely, much like everything, I think this first year we're not going to see it. I don't think there's any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why I almost like things I'm really excited about. I don't want you to announce for that first year. Go ahead and hold back for a little bit. Like,
yeah, you won't see that until this time next year at the Earth. Probably.
Yeah, I would like Nintendo to maybe step up a little bit. Like, they've been very quiet during the console thing that's gone on here. They've been releasing this one of those things where I'm like, so you guys have any plans for maybe an updated Switch? Because it's been almost 4 years now. Like, could we get something good in there?
Yeah.
I actually started hearing whispers about an updated Switch, but I mean, Nintendo is banking pretty hard on just the overarching blessing that New Horizons has been for the entire society. I don't know if they are, I mean, it almost seems like they don't have much in the woodworks, even though I know that's not true.
I mean, it's definitely a killer app, but at the same point, though, it's like I got it and I was in love with it for like 2 months, and like every other Animal Crossing, so I'll never play it again.
Yeah, same. Has anybody...
So I actually have an interesting story adjacent to that.
Ooh, yes, please.
I got Hyrule Warriors.
I was just going to ask.
And it's very fun. But when I went to go play it, I put it in and I'm like, all right, cool, let's play this. And I saw an error telling me like it couldn't read my micro SD card. And I'm like, that's weird. And I was like, okay. So then I go to try to play it again. Won't let me play it. Then I'm like, all right, let me try a different game. Maybe I got a bad copy of this. I put in my Mario versus Rabbids. That won't play. I'm like, oh no. Like, do I have a broken Switch?
This is seriously up here.
Well, what?
Right. I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, wait, they're talking about a micro SD card. Maybe it's the literal micro SD card I got in here day one. And sure enough, I took it out and then everything played fine. And at first I was like, okay, that's kind of sad, I guess. I lost, I had my screenshots on there, and I had a couple of downloaded games, but for the most part, my saves were backed up in the cloud because I'm paying, Nintendo their hut, they got me for, right. And then I realized, hey, wait, I had a downloaded copy of Animal Crossing. And that was a game that didn't back up into the cloud.
Oh my God.
We're done. Everyone on that island is gone.
Oh, man.
And I talked because it was mostly like my partner who played the game. And I went there like, just so you know, like we didn't lose a lot, but we did lose Animal Crossing. And she looked at me, she was like, if I had gone back in there for all that Halloween stuff, I'd be really mad right now. But I didn't go back in there for that Halloween stuff because I didn't have the time. So, oh well, it's gone. And it was like you said, Buzz, like we went from like playing the stock market, like going ahead, trying to figure out, maximizing our money, putting in this thing to one day, like, yeah, there are people on that island, I guess.
Well, that's the same thing happened to me. My original generator, like the Switch from the original launch date, the fan on it burnt out completely. So I ended up getting a Switch Lite and transferring it over. And that's the one, that and Splatoon 2 are the only two games I couldn't get back on.
Wow. Now, did you have Pokemon at the time? Because I thought Pokemon didn't back up either.
Pokemon does back up actually to your SD card, so you can still get all of your monsters that way. So that one actually does not, because I was worried about that. I remember calling Sarah and being like,
yeah,
Burkhard, all my monsters are gone. I got guys in there from like Gen 3.
It was a rough like 25 minutes.
And I was like, oh wait, it's here. We're good. I just had to update.
Yeah.
Well, the one small happy thing to come out of this is I figured out that despite my Switch, so my Switch still reads SD cards because I got a new one, it works. I got the old one that won't read in the Switch, and I opened it up in my computer, and I can still see all the files. So I can actually, I think, save a bunch of this, but I don't know which file is the corrupt file. Which one is the one that's going to just crash out my...
Oh.
And so, like, I have potentially, when I'm bored one day, I can do a lot of trial and error and slowly move things over. All right, it still works. All right, it still works. And then, oh, don't work. That file has to go. And we're done. So maybe my island survives. I'm not sure.
It's a lot of trial and error.
It is, especially because it involves like the little cards and putting it in the micro SD, the mini SD and a micro SD, and then putting it in the computer, doing the thing, pulling it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And speaking of things we don't like, the final question I had about this, is there anything from this generation you want to leave behind? That you just want to leave in the 8th generation?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
You know what else I had just got a new patch update is oh my God, what is that game, Buzz, that you played and it had nothing?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. That.
Well, that it's just a mess at launch. Apparently, it's good now, but I will never go back to it.
No, I wanna put away and put on the shelf these games that are promising these like massive open. And I love open world, but these massive open world, like just
The forever game.
exactly.
Well,
I want to put those away and just get things that actually function.
that's what I
as
mean by
games.
Red Dead 2. It's like I really actually did like the game. I thought it was impressive, but at times it's like I don't need to see things like, these animations that take, a day and a half, or, I don't need to see horse genitalia in real time. It's that kind of things too, where it's like we shouldn't be having companies doing crunch like this either to make these kind of games and these insane deadlines. It's like, give me a Miles Morales, give me a game I can play in a weekend and have like a really amazing time with, and like feel like I've done something. That's more of an experience for me, at least.
Yeah, I've really started to come around. Like I like my larger games, but I would think like this year, the two games, what was it? Late last year, Return to the Obra Dinn, and this year, The Outer Wilds.
Oh yeah.
And they're just such like they're the 20, 25-hour games, and they're just like by the end, I was just like, with Obra Dinn, I just felt like I kind of like, yeah, I saw this. Sorry guys, for the people who only got like 2 gold or whatever. But for like Outer Wilds, it was just so moving. Like, and they managed to condense this experience into something that was manageable versus like, one of those Ubisoft checkpoint simulators. Like I'm done seeing maps that are just full of things. I say that as I'm about to go back to Spider-Man, just full of things to do. Like, all right, well, I got to go over here to do these 18 other things. Yeah.
So that's not even what I mean, because I thrive. I live for those maps. Like I'm a big, Inquisition fan. I'm a big Spider-Man 2018 fan. I'm a big Horizon Zero Dawn even has a bunch of those. But just the ones that just promise the world and don't deliver. I want the ones that are like the Zero Dawn that, come under the radar mostly because Breath of the Wild or something along those lines, and just impress, not the ones that are hyped and hyped and hyped.
And I don't need the big budget title every time too anymore either. Like I think my favorite game from last year was Atelier Ryza, which is like this very middle of the road kind of like all the Atelier games are really kind of junky, but I had the most fun with that game last year. And it's just like, this probably didn't cost a lot to make, but it had so much heart and charm. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want. It doesn't always have to be like a CD Projekt Red cyberpunk project either. I think when we kind of see a mixture of those, we all benefit from having like a wider selection.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like Hades this year.
Oh my gosh, that game is so good. Just chef kiss.
I still have to get that for the Switch. I still have to do it. Like,
it's so good. You will lose a whole weekend to it. It's amazing.
Which like that I saw got for awards, got Indie Game of the Year, and that's great and good. But I mean, then you see things like The Last of Us Part 2 coming in.
This is a game that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on.
I know I keep bringing it up like a dead horse, but I mean, it beats its own dead horses.
It is not a feel-good title, that's for sure.
No, is it gorgeous? Yes. Does it deserve the award for, I mean, the rope physics alone? Definitely. But the game of the year, no. I don't know.
It would be hard for me to even pick a game of the year this year. Like I would have to really like stop and think and be like, what even came out? Because it's been such a weird year.
I was trying to think of what came out besides for New Horizons.
What were you saying, Connor?
Definitely think Doom Eternal came out, and I'm pretty sure that got nominated.
I was going to actually say I think you're right. Doom Eternal did get nominated for the Game Awards. And actually, the Game Awards this year, I think, are a day after our next episode. So I was going to suggest, like, if we wanted to, like, next time, really talk about, like, those picks that they made, because I think it's an interesting list. Even though it's all for naught, and I think it's just going to go straight to The Last of Us Part 2.
We have to find another way. It can't come to that.
I hope Final Fantasy VII, the remake, gets a fair shake. I thought that game was extremely impressive.
Oh my God, that came out today.
That was
this year.
in March. April. I think it was April of this year. It was right when we kind of all went into lockdown. I remember
Yeah.
it came in the mail, and I was like, well, at least I got something to do, because we all thought we were only going to be home for like 2 weeks, and joke's on us.
Oh my gosh.
That game was like I did not go into it realizing it was going to be like Evangelion 1.1. You know, like I thought I was ready, and I was not. And it, oh, geez, that game was so good. That game was so good. You just reminded me.
I mean, I think it's kind of, it feels like it's been a long time already since it came out, but that game was truly a hit, I think. And it came out right before The Last of Us, too. And I just remember being like, this is a real, like, I really thought that could be the game of the year.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to bring up, because we're kind of near Thanksgiving, and for whatever reason, I associate Thanksgiving with multiplayer games, just because I always have this like image of having cousins and nieces over, and them deciding that we're going to play a game together, because the parents have all just stuck them in my room, like, all right, go play. You've got a system, make that thing happen.
I hear that.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Does anyone have any favorite multiplayer game moments like that come to mind?
Moments or games in general?
Either or.
We've
Like,
been playing.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
make the case for Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario
That
Kart.
is the classic pick up and play multiplayer game, isn't it?
Yeah, for almost
It
any
is.
system that it's on.
It's a good one. We've been playing a lot of Among Us, like with my friend group, just kind of over Discord. Like we'll just kind of get a game going, and like we can get 10 people, and that game has been kind of keeping us going during the pandemic, just as like a way to be semi-social, and also I really enjoy that game. And it's one of those things where it's like it's a game made by 2 people, but it's so brilliant. I'm like, I can't get over it.
I love how they like really expanded kind of the werewolf formula and made it something like not just because we've been seeing a lot more like just straight up ports of board game like things to video games. And
Yeah.
this kind of Among Us seems more in the vein of like Slay the Spire, where it takes this concept that worked in board games, but finds a way to make it interesting and take advantage of like what video games bring to the table. I find that game fascinating though. I haven't found a group to play it with yet.
I
I
mean,
still haven't played it yet. I mean, Will, sign us up.
we could do a Discord without all of us in here and just kind of run it. It'd be funny. That game really does get elevated when you have like the option to talk during the meetings as opposed to trying to like type on your phone.
Yeah.
Because that way you can just kind of hash it out.
So the only thing I don't understand in that, what are the logistics? So, okay, you go through and at some point somebody's a traitor, they take someone out. What stops the person who got taken out from being like, hey, wait, it was Tommy all the time? Or is it just kind of like, Scout's honor sort of thing?
Well, that's it. The whole game is trying to. It's my cat's tail. The whole game is trying to lie like effectively. So you actually get as the trader a list of tasks that are fake to do that you can walk around and pretend like, well, I was at the electrical panel and then I went and did the fuel tank and I saw Brianna kill Taylor in that other room. It had to be her. They were together. And now she's dead and I found the body. So you can actually self-report bodies as the trader. You can crawl through the air vents, which no one else can do, to like zip across the map. So you can make all these kind of really crazy head games. And we call it the slow marinade, is where you hang out with another non-killer player the whole game to be like, hey, I've been with them the whole game and bodies keep piling up, but they could vouch for me. And they usually do. So you get this kind of like insane mind game going.
Some underhanded tactical warfare that you are definitely just key to play.
Well, that's spurious and libel. Slander?
Sus.
No, libel.
Hella sus.
It's slander.
Is it slander?
It's
Yeah,
slander
libel's
'cause-
written.
Yep,
You're
slander
right.
spoken. Jay Jonah told us.
Jay, Jonah? Oh,
J. Jonah Jameson.
Mm.
podcast.
Do
Thank
people?
you.
Oh, what would you say, Connor?
I think if I were to probably say with favorite multiplayer games, probably like you know, the cliche Call of Duty, Halo, that type of stuff. And favorite moments. Ooh, me and my cousins used to play a lot of Call of Duty together when we were younger, and I would always get utterly destroyed. And
Yeah.
then
Well, we know right now, me and my friends are playing Phasmophobia or whatever. But we like playing Left 4 Dead games. Those are always classic multiplayer. Like you can just be like, hey, do you want to play Left 4 Dead? And then you play Left 4 Dead, and it's cool. And you remember how to do it, and you remember all the maps, and it's fun.
I could never kill the witch in those games. I always wanted to. Like I always wanted to be like one of those people who could sneak up on him and get him, and I could never pull it off.
So that kind of brings me to another question. Do people prefer cooperative or competitive multiplayer games?
competitive.
Cooperative.
I like
Competitive.
I'm not any good at competitive.
I mean, I like cooperative.
Let's be clear, I'm not good at real life competitive.
I love competitive, but I think co-op's just funner. I just like doing something with my buddies, co-op definitely. I think that's why I liked Halo so much. Not Halo, well Halo 2, but Will, you're gonna get disappointed, but Destiny. I mentioned this a bunch of times. I was a big Destiny fanboy, but I think that's why the game was so cool when it first came out. And then they charged like $50 for each DLC, and we all know how that turned out.
Oof.
I know.
The thing about Destiny that I can't get into is there's so much lore involved with the game, and like it's very much a barrier to kind of trying to even dip a toe in at this point, I feel.
I would agree with that. I think the two best multiplayers I played that are not like lore intensive this year were Monster Hunter World. I kind of went back to that one and played around with it. And that was always kind of fun to drop in and out with friends. And then Sarah and I actually played a lot of Final Fantasy 14 when they like kind of redid the realm sign up for a little while there. And I think we had some fun with that.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. That's a really good game to like just kind of like sit back and go on like auto mode. Like you don't have to do a lot of thinking when you're playing it.
And it has a lot of lists, which I like, clearly.
Right.
I hear like 14 is supposed to be stealth, one of the best Final Fantasy games like Square has released. Like it is in the conversation, like just as a whole. Like there's a barrier of entry, but like if you can get past that barrier, they're like doing a lot of interesting story stuff in that game.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Final Fantasy Tactics or 12, where they had like kind of that Ivalice, like old fashioned setting of like, yeah, we got a lot of different races of like characters. You have like these different nations that are very like themed. And you have like the crystals and like the Eidolons. Like you have these actual like deities you're dealing with, and like this whole like mother crystal story of like light versus good. So they really did, and they really pay homage to like FF1 and 2 with like the whole like Dark Knight kind of thing. So it really did have a great storyline, which usually when I play an MMO, I'm not looking for that. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm actually going to watch this cutscene. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm still really stubborn because it still has like, I know you can play up to a certain level for free, but then you have to pay monthly. And that, man, I don't want to give them money every month. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, you would
Yeah,
have, once you got the PS Plus, like that could have been like a nation thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already paying Sony how much a month anyway. Like, maybe you could just roll this into it. I'm playing it on your console too.
Yeah. We got a little bit of time. The other final question I have, but for multiplayers though, with regard to the competitive games, for people who've played them, have you ever had any of these potentially ruin a friendship?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because we've been with cousins and they're trapped.
I don't know. I don't play competitive with friends. It was,
Also, Buzz is lucky I'm not a sore loser, so you know.
Well, I mean, you'd have to win occasionally to not be a loser. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I said. I'm not a sore loser.
Wow.
Our friendship will live another decade.
No, Sarah and I have been playing a long time. The amount of times we played against each other in Splatoon 2, and just like because when we lived next to each other, we used to just like play Splatoon all the time. And I remember I'd just be like, it would almost come to blows, but we never actually got mad at each other. So I'd be
No.
like, work
Man,
hard.
So fun.
I love Splatoon 2. I wish they would do just another Splatoon. I mean, I know Splatoon 2 is still an option, but I want new content.
Have any of your games come to blows, Will, or ruinous friendships?
Oof. So I mean, my friends will yell at each other when things go poorly. I think I've mentioned like they were doing Mario Kart Double Dash, which I still will maintain
Yeah.
the ideal perfection of Mario Kart is Double Dash. Like I other things they do and that's fine, whatever. But there were like these siblings taking on these other two really good friends who called themselves like team clerks because they kind of each resembled one of the people from that movie. And at one point, like they lost against the siblings, and one of the team clerks members rage quit in the middle of this game and just stomped off and left the house. I think it wasn't even left the room, left the house, and we were just like, all right, well, he is gone, and no one really picked up the other controller. We just kind of looked like, nah, and we just left him by himself, and we forevermore said the only thing that could really stop Team Clerks is Team Clerks. Yeah, there's been rage quits. There've definitely been rage quits. I don't think it's ever come to blows. No, I don't think it's come to blows. I had to really give that some thought.
I mean, it happens. It happens.
I mean, me and my friends, we definitely yelled at each other like crazy, online. So like in the back in the day, we do like game battles. Like I was big into Call of Duty, and there's been times where like we would either rage offline and we just like it just be nonstop. Like just the party would be crazy, but nah, like it never like friendship ending. But those were the days. Like I don't know, I enjoyed that. And I know Gus had a couple of those moments on Halo. I was there to witness them.
Wait, what?
Those were the best days. No.
Yeah, I know.
With Halo, I've said it before. I never really lost. Whether I lost or not, at the end of the game, I wouldn't, swear or anything like that, but I would I'd thank the other team, be like, oh, great job, guys. You guys got really lucky. Even though we all know it wasn't luck. It was like, 75-3 or whatever, you know what I mean? But it really, it was like, just think of like 8 animals in a lobby, just swearing at each other. You know what I mean?
Just trying to chew each other out. I know.
Like you can't even hear anything but yelling. You know what I mean? So that was really fun. I kind of want to do that again. And then I usually beat Dimitri, like 99.9% of the time I beat Dimitri in any game.
That's so wrong.
In any
That's
game.
crazy.
0.9.
That's crazy. Yeah, don't believe.
And I know, Will, you were talking about how the last gen was you could record, key moments and stuff like that. If you want, one of these days we can do like an hour and a half of me destroying Dimitri. I got a lot of clips.
He only records those moments.
A lot of clips.
That's all he does. Like I can beat him 5 times in a row, but the one time he wins, he's got it on tape. It's crazy.
Whoa. Hey, relax, dude. You got lucky. Hey, you got lucky.
No, all right, we're not.
You're already doing it. You're already calling it lucky.
You got lucky, man. You got lucky.
I don't care. I'm over it. I'm over it.
He's about to leave. He's about to rage quit now.
I'm literally about to hit the leave button. So,
Rage quit Zoom.
like honestly, but no, just to bring it back. But that's why sometimes I think the competitive nature of like video games, like actual like comp, sometimes ruins the gaming experience. Like I don't know if you guys still play Call of Duty or not, but I'll jump around in it, and like I can't have a casual like game in COD anymore. I'm out here getting like 360 no scope. Like it's annoying now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, I never outdo competitive games with people I know, but I had a hard time going online and doing it. Like the first time I did it, and the last time I did it, I had somebody who I knew sounded like they were no older than like 14 tell me like intimate details about my mom, and I'm like to the point where I had to like call her and be like, have you heard of Captain Killer 1412-7Z? Like, do you know who are you talking about? Well,
Said they're coming over.
father would be very upset if he found out like that this sort of thing was going on. And I'm like, nah, I don't need that.
They always go for that first, though.
The only thing I can't stand with the online thing is, and this is like the only thing that gets me, is when you're playing with somebody online and you happen to be doing the audio thing, and they've got a smoke detector dying in the background, so it's beeping every 10 minutes. Do people live like that? Like, is that like a thing? Like, why wouldn't you just go up and take it off the ceiling? What is that?
Yeah, I know.
Oh man!
Oh
So
my God.
in their defense, I actually have one of those the Nest smoke alarms. And a couple months back, I was cooking, like I was trying to sear a steak, and so I left my pot on the burner too long, and I just kind of let the smoke go, and I somehow ignored it until the apartment was so full of smoke, and I hit the button on the Nest. I'm like, oh, it'll stop. There was so much smoke. Nest's like, nah, I'm ignoring that button. You need to do something now. And I freaked out. Like I had to end up taking it to the other room, wrapping it in a blanket, putting the blanket in a drawer, closing the drawer, and like so the beeping would finally stop and open every window in the condo we're in. So I was like,
William, what?
Yeah.
And the steak didn't even come out the way I wanted. That was the worst part. Like
Oh.
all that stuff. It didn't even sear.
The only leeway I can give to smoke detector beeping is, listen, some of us are not tall enough, nor do we have little step stools that are high enough to get us to reach what we need to reach to turn that noise off.
Don't you have the claw thing? Like the
Throw a shoe at him.
That only grips so much. That only goes so high.
Oh, Sarah.
Listen. It's fine.
It's
Is
okay.
it?
It's okay. It's okay. All right, guys.
oh man.
This was a good talk, you guys.
It was.
It
It's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So I think maybe next time.
Yeah, you guys have a good Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people probably
Thank you.
too much, but
Definitely. Time to talk about games.
I think so. Let's talk about the Game Awards next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm here for that.
All righty.
all right, guys. And I'm
All right,
gonna
everybody.
buy. I've been inspired. I'm gonna get Hades. It's on sale right now for $20.
Ooh, it is.
On the Switch. So I think I'm gonna pick it up. So
It is definitely worth $20. It's a great game.
I'm gonna do it now. All right.
Oh, jeez.
It was good talking to you guys.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Take
See ya.
care. Be safe out
Bye,
there.
See you.
everybody.
Until next time.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.